Hello there, everyone, and welcome to who knows what this is by now. First of all, I'd just like to say Happy New Year. Well, here we are at the start of 2016. Had a great time over the holidays in spite of some interesting travel stories, which I'll get to here in a minute, but it was really great to get to see everybody, and had a great time with the kids and with my mom and dad and the family and everybody. So it was short, but it was sweet, and it was interesting, let's put it that way. Now, the topic of tonight's video is about the not so friendly skies that we experienced traveling down there. Now, of course, we live up here in Maryland. My family is all down in Northwest Florida in the Panhandle. My daughter is in Pensacola. My parents are in Destin, and my sister lives in Crestview. And so we traveled down there for the holidays. Now, driving down there is really not an option. My car is old. I'm not going to rent a car and drive 20 hours. When it's a simple, if we can catch a straight through 2-hour flight or a hop through, and now we always take Southwest, so the hub there is through Nashville, so a quick hop through Nashville with a layover. It's usually a few hours. It's not a big deal normally, but we ran into lots of problems this year. And when I talk about the not so friendly skies, I'm certainly not talking about Southwest themselves, although I will note that over the last couple of years they've really been having some problems. I've been seeing a lot of articles, maintenance articles, emergency landing kind of things. Over the last few trips, to the point I had to get new luggage after we came back. Thanks, Mom, that's what I spent my gift certificate you gave me on. So, but anyway, and what else? Just I've noticed on the last few flights there was lots of delays and things like that. So these are things I have not noticed from Southwest over quite some time. Now I will have to again say, having been a loyal customer of theirs for many, many years, their prices are still unbeatable, and the flights are generally good. So except for this time, and we're gonna cover the whole story here about our flights down to Florida and back, and it was quite a nightmare. Now, it's been a week since we've been back. It did take a while to recover from this trip. There was a lot of lost sleep, not eating much, a lot of stress. Now, my girlfriend may or may not know this, but I'm telling you all now, you'll know. The way I tend to deal with stress or stressful situations is I will not react to whatever's going on in a negative way whatsoever, and I'll wait and dump the stress in some constructive manner at a later time. So, but it was very stressful, and a lot of stress built up over this, and it took me several days to decompress from this trip. I think you'll see why here in a minute. So let's start at the beginning. Now, there's going to be a couple of things. Oh, what I was going to mention was, now that we're a week removed from that, I've had time to rest and regain my senses or whatever. Is I wanted to approach this discussion from an analytical point of view, and what I wanted to analyze was money and time. Now, these are general things I tend to pay attention to as a project manager. They're two of my three primary things I focus on. The third was resources, which did not come into play in this. But time, there was a lot of time spent in airports, more time than actually I spent with my family. I'm going to do a little timeline and see, though, based on the circumstances, how much time I actually did lose. And then money, finances. I wanted to study how I came out financially over this, and was it worth it? So we'll discuss that at the end. But first, we'll just start the story. Once upon a time, there was some folks who wanted to go down to Florida to see their family for Christmas. Well, the way circumstances worked out is so basically the only flight on Christmas Day was a 5:15 p.m. flight leaving from Baltimore, going to going to Nashville with a several hour layover, and then a 10 o'clock flight landing at 11 or 11:15 or so in Pensacola. So that was not the ultimate desirable flight, but it was all we had, and so the plan was to fly down to Pensacola, get in late. There's a nice Hyatt there at the airport. We were going to spend the night there, and you pick up my kids at like 9 o'clock the next morning. Adam had already flown down to spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with his mother, so he was already down there. So pick up the kids at 9 in the morning and drive to my sister's house. And that's not exactly what happened. What happened was we left at 2:45. Now, if you'll watch along here, I think I'm going to do the timeline up here above. We'll see how that works out. But try to do parallel timelines of what we expected to happen and what actually did happen. So we left at 2:45 as planned, got to the airport, went through check-in, security, all that stuff, no problem, got on our flight at 5:15, flew to Nashville. No big deal. Everything was on time. Now we had a couple hour layover, so we're just relaxing, reading, whatever. And a guy comes on over the loudspeaker and says, it is my duty to inform you that there is a chance that your flight to Pensacola could be diverted due to fog. And I'm like, really? That's not going to happen. Come on. There's no way they'll land the plane. So we got on the plane, as at the time we should have gotten on it, and flew the hour and a half down to Pensacola. And we were coming in for our landing. We were on final approach. The wheels were out, and you could tell we were close to the ground. And all of a sudden, you could feel the engines power up, and we start climbing again. And we were like, wow, that's no good. Now, it wasn't bad enough that it looked like we were going to divert to some other city. But we had a woman from New Jersey sitting behind us who had an obnoxious, loud voice, and who thought the thing was funny as hell, and was just, we're going to get diverted, ha 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 ha, yeah, it's awesome. No, it's not awesome. It's 11:15 at night, and we're not landing where we're supposed to land. And so the pilot comes on and tells us we're diverting to Orlando. So we'll start turning, what are our alternatives here? Now, Orlando is a good 7-hour drive from Pensacola, and that's if you don't stop and speed a little bit on the highways. So 7 hours in a car after traveling already for 5 hours. Well, by the time we got to Orlando, it was 1 in the morning. So we've been traveling now for 8 hours. Another 7 hours in a car was not really going to happen. That was not happening. So we got there, and of course everybody's angry and upset. And it's 1 in the morning, and I talked to one of the Southwest people there, and they're like, yeah, we were just packing up and getting ready to go. Our last plane had come in. We were about to leave when we found out this was coming in. So this is 1 o'clock in the morning for these folks who are working on Christmas. Okay? Now they've got to deal with 200 angry people, because that was a full flight. And even though they weren't required to, because of the fact that the cause of all of this was weather, they gave us vouchers for this flight, and we'll discover the amount. We'll discuss the amounts and all that. That'll be in our list as we go through the cost and value of everything. All right, so we get there 1 in the morning, and we proceed to stand in line, because they have to give everybody their vouchers who was on the plane before they can rebook them. So there are people who trying to find, by the way, no hotel rooms. It's Christmas night. All the hotels are booked. So there's nowhere to go. But you have all these people some of which had family they could go to, whatever. But you have all these people who are tired and angry and have to go through a long process because they have to go through and print all these vouchers off for everybody and make sure that they're right, because there's 200 people there. They're giving away a lot of money back that they really didn't have to. All right, so we spent from about 1 until 3 in the morning waiting on vouchers. And at one point, one of the ladies working there went in the back and found a couple of cases of water and stuff, and she went and put that on the counter, and people were running up and double arming them and taking them away, almost like it was the apocalypse, like they were never going to get water ever again. And I was just shook my head. I found it very interesting. People display their best and their worst qualities in stressful times. Now, this wasn't all that stressful. Yeah, we were standing in line. Yeah, it was Christmas. We weren't getting where we wanted. It was disappointing. It was frustrating. But it certainly wasn't the end of the world, people. Anyway, so we stand in line. We get our vouchers for a couple hours. And now they're going to rebook us. So they start rebooking us. They actually created a new flight, one that did not exist, to put us all on back to Pensacola, that was leaving at 11 o'clock the next morning. Okay? Now, we're in Eastern time at this point, so we're talking 11 o'clock Eastern. So at the time we were going to be leaving, I was already an hour late to pick my kids up. Now, of course, I'd already texted Adam, and he was aware of the situation. I also had to call the hotel and let them know what had happened, because I didn't want to get charged. That's an expensive hotel. It's $100 a night. I didn't want to get charged. It wasn't my fault. So I called them, and they said, "Cool, it's cool, no problem. We know there's been a lot of stuff going on." So they graciously canceled my reservation with no cost. That was very nice. And we got a reservation for the next day. And so at this point, it's 4:30 in the morning when all this business is done, and now we have to sit and wait for 6.5 hours. Now, Victoria was smart enough to pull up 2 chairs together and go to sleep. I did not feel comfortable sleeping, although at some points I was forced unconsciously. I fell asleep a few times, dozed, but I didn't really get any good sleep whatsoever. And so finally we get to boarding time, 10:30 the next morning, so it's the day after Christmas. And we get on the plane, and the pilot comes on and goes, "They're fogged in again at Pensacola, so I have to warn you, we may divert again." And I was just like, "No, this can't be happening." So we took off, flew over there. The arrival time was, I believe, around 12:15, because we gained an hour going back. And there was some concern we weren't going to be able to land, but we did make it into land. All right. So we made it into land, and so you see on the timeline here, 12:15. I should have been picking up my kids 3 hours earlier, so I've already lost 3 hours of time. This is time you can't get back with people you don't get to see very often. Of course, I get to see Adam all the time, but I don't get to see my daughter very often. And I was supposed to pick them up and drive to my sister's. It was supposed to be at my sister's by 10 o'clock. I didn't get there till, so that's 3 hours I lost with my parents and my family, getting to see everybody. You cannot put a price on that, okay? Especially because I was only going to be there for 48 hours. So, but we finally got there at 1 o'clock with the kids and all. We sat down for a minute, and then we just bowled right into Christmas. We didn't have time to wait. And so we unwrapped our presents, and we really had a good time and enjoyed each other's company and laughed. And then my brother-in-law Ron had smoked a ham outside, and we had that, and a lot of nice family recipes, food that we have not had for a while, and a really, really nice meal. But the problem with that is that once I ate my fill, it was very hard to stay awake. We spent the rest of the day watching football bowl games and stuff like that. It was great, and the family was all having fun, and the kids were having fun, and we were watching and paying attention, and I dozed every now and then. And it was tough staying awake. Finally, we got to be about 9:30 that night, and I was wiped out, couldn't stay awake any longer. Went on in, went to bed, and slept like the dead for 14 hours. By choice, I would not have slept that long. I think I did wake up a few times, but there was just no, I was rolling over, going back to sleep. So I slept for 14 hours. I got up at about 11. We were supposed to be leaving at 11 to drive to my parents' house for lunch. So I had to quickly text my mother and tell her we were going to be late, jumped in the shower real quick, had to pack all our stuff up, sort of make the bed. Sorry, Karen, I did the best I could. Throw everything in a suitcase and rush out of there to my parents' house. So I didn't get to see, Adam was up early, got to spend time with his cousins, that was good. I did not get to see anybody from my sister's family that morning. Rushed out of the house to my parents, got to my parents' house and realized I'd left my video camera at my sister's house. We got there about 12:30, and I was just going to tell her to mail it back to me, and she was kind enough to offer to bring it over, which was great. So it's like an hour drive, so she drove it over to my parents, so very thankful of that. And got to have lunch with my parents, spend the afternoon, early evening, and then at 7:30ish, we needed to go back because I needed to drop the kids off and then get the hotel, because we were flying out at 7 o'clock the next morning. 7:15 was our flight. And this is where we start phase 2. But before that, on the way home, we went through Gulf Breeze. We had to stop by and get some Whataburger. It's just what you do when you're in the South. We don't have Whataburger up here, so I had to get some Whataburger. It was good. You're jealous, I know. All right, so we got in the hotel. It was a nice hotel, very comfortable. Nice bathroom with a walk-in shower. So it was really, really a good, great place. I recommend it highly. Got in, set up a wake-up call for 5 a.m. because our flight was at 7:15, and we were looking forward to getting home. We were expecting to get out early. We needed to get out early because the bottom tail of Goliath, now if you look behind me, I'll probably have a radar picture of the winter storm Goliath, who was our nemesis for this second day of travel. But if you look up to the north, you have snow, and then you have this long tail of thunderstorms that were pretty far to the west. Were expected to come through between 11 and 12, and we were leaving at 7, so we were like, that's awesome, we'll be gone before this gets in, we'll even be in Nashville before it gets in, so everything should be great. And so we got up at 5 when the alarms went off, started packing, making sure we were ready to go, and I got an alert from Southwest that our flight was delayed. Our flight was delayed now until 11 o'clock. No explanation of why it was. We found out later it was because the crew coming in from the night before was delayed by this same storm, and there's a time window where they have to rest a certain period before they can fly again. So that 7:15 a.m. flight was in their window where they couldn't fly by regulations. So the flight was delayed until 11 o'clock, right when these storms were going to be coming in. Awesome, right? Yes. So we get our stuff together about 9 o'clock. We check out. We go turn in the rental car. We go into the terminal. We check in. We get to security and get there. There's nobody in security. We're like, yes, all right. We go through the serpentine, go through the TSA person. I'm putting my bags on the belt, and over the loudspeaker comes an alert warning and a notice that we are under a tornado warning. There are tornadoes in the area. So had to go back out through the serpentine so they could shut the gate and close off security, because there's windows all in that area, but back in the other side there are no windows. And so we had to sit there for a half hour and wait for the tornado warning to lift. And once it finally did, we then had to go through security again, went to our gate, And this was such a cluster at the gate. I couldn't really believe it. We're trying to get out of there because they keep coming up with tornado warnings and these storms are coming through. Well, where we were, there was these. Well, where we were, there was these two gates. Okay, there was our gate, and there was a gate with a flight going to Houston. Well, apparently, the scanning device, the computer they used to scan the tickets on the Houston flight, broke. And so we were all standing up ready to board our flight. Our pilot decides he wants an extra 2,000 pounds of fuel. Because with the storms, he doesn't know what could possibly happen, but he wants to have extra fuel. I'm okay with that. So because we were delayed for the fuel, they decided to run all the Houston folks through our check-in at our gate. So while we're all standing there, we're told not to move. They work all of the Houston flight through that check-in. So we can't get on the plane and wait. We can't even sit down. They worked them all through and boarded them ready to go, and then finally boarded us. Now we're boarded. Excuse me, my lovely scarf I got for Christmas. Roll Tide. We're finally boarded, and there's still tornado warnings going off on people's phones and things like that. And the pilot goes, "Oh, yeah, sorry, we're going to be delayed just a little bit because we're waiting on our fuel still. So after all that, we don't have our fuel yet." So finally they bolt on the tanker truck and fill us up with another 2,000 pounds of fuel. And we're taking off from Pensacola under a tornado warning. But at least we get up in the air. That's all I got to say. We got up in the air. We were on our way again to Nashville. Yes. So this is 11:30, I think we got off from Pensacola to Nashville. And of course, we're going to miss our connecting flight, which was at noon. We get to Nashville about 12:30, 1 o'clock, so our flight's gone. And we had already been rebooked anyway on the 7:15 flight from Nashville to BWI that night. So we're all settling in for a 6-hour layover in Nashville. You know, we're prepared. I've got my laptop. You know, I've got movies, DVDs. There's internet in the airport, so I could hook into Hulu and whatever, watch stuff there. So we had entertainment. We had stuff to keep us busy. So we found some comfy seats with power plugs where we could charge all our shit, and we're sitting there. It's all good. Life is good. Got comfy seats, got power, got entertainment. So we're sitting there, la 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 la, and we get to about 5 o'clock. Now our flight's at 7. I get an alert on my phone. I'm like, oh geez. So I look at it and it says, "Oh, we're sorry, your flight's now delayed until 10 o'clock. So I'm like, okay, another 3 hours, whatever. And so we sit there, we're watching TV. And an hour later, 6 o'clock, I get another alert. Oh, sorry, your flight's delayed till 11. Great. All right, so we're sitting there watching TV, whatever. It gets to 9 o'clock, I get an alert. Oh, sorry, your flight's canceled. The next flight's at 5 a.m. And Victoria's like, we're not sleeping in a terminal again. And I'm like, well, I'm not really inclined in my head. I'm going, because of course she was agitated. I was not going to push any buttons. In my head, I'm like, well, I'm not leaving the terminal and going to get in our bags and going to a hotel only to get up at 3 o'clock and come back to go through security to get on a plane. I'm just good. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I need an alternative because Victoria's at the end of her rope. She's had it. So I go up to the ticket booth. Well, the customer service desk really is what it is in the terminal. And wait in line. Now I was smart enough to get up there pretty quick. 2 or 3 in line. It took forever. I get up there, and they're offering vouchers. I'm like, all right, give me my vouchers. And then I'm like, is there any way that you can get me on and I look up at the board, and I see there's a flight to Philly. Can you get me on this flight to Philly? It's leaving. Matter of fact, it's boarding right now. He goes, yeah, it's only like a third full. I can put you on it right now. And he printed off boarding passes, and I was like 8:30, so I was like, you know, the first 10 people on the plane. But I mean, basically, I grabbed the boarding passes. I went and started packing my shit up and said, hey, look, this is not non-negotiable. I got tickets. Let's get out of here. And Victoria's like, don't tell me twice. And she got all her stuff and like a trooper, and we packed all our stuff and hustled on that Philly plane, not knowing what to expect. We got to the other. Now, I did talk to the guys who got me the boarding pass. I said, look, is there any way you can get my bags? And they said they would try. And I appreciated that. However, when we got to the other end, we didn't have any bags. So that was not so awesome, but we were in Philly. By the way, the Philly airport looks like a frickin' prison. Left out of there on a little mini bus to go to the rental car areas. Each rental car area is a frickin' compound with security gates and, you know, high metal fences. And I was like, holy crap, what kind of war zone did I just end up in? But so we got to Philly about 1 o'clock. Grateful that we had to no longer get on any airplanes. Okay, now this is 1 o'clock Tuesday morning. Now we were supposed to have already been home 13 hours before this. So yeah, got to Philly and went to the rental place, and really nice guy there got us a good deal on a one-way car with a GPS, because I didn't know how to get out of Philly. You know, once we got on the highways, it was no big deal, but getting from the airport to the highway, I didn't know how to do so. And it wasn't very bad. The only bad thing was Goliath was making known. It was pouring freaking down. Buckets. And here I am. By the time we got through the rental car place, because we're not the only ones who were doing this, it was 3 in the morning. So we're pulling out of the rental car place at 3 in the morning into an unfamiliar place, pouring down rain, and started our way back to Baltimore, working our way back. And let me tell you, the highways coming out of Philadelphia there, when it's raining and at night, you can't see the lines on the road, and there are no reflectors. And so I was, you know, doing everything I could to keep up a decent speed and yet not, you know, roll the car into a ditch somewhere. The other part of this was there's a lot of truckers that drive between Baltimore and Philly at night. So we were sharing I-95 South with a whole shitload of trucks in a pouring rain all the way, and it was just the icing on the cake for the trip. Now, of course, we made it. We got to Victoria's house about 4:30. Of course, we had no bags. I was initially inclined to just drive on to BWI, expecting our bags might be there, and I thought, you know what, that's just stupid. Let's just stay here and get some rest. And so I did. I slept, well, fitfully, because I have sleep apnea really bad. We'll do a video on sleep apnea. It's important. And if I sleep without my mask, I'm miserable, and it is a tough night. So I didn't have my mask. It was in my bag. So anyway, slept very fitfully and poorly, and then got up, called BWI to see if the bags were there. They weren't there yet. And I said, you know what? Victoria needed to leave. She needed to go do something. I said, I'm just going to drive over there, drop off the car, and then I'll hang out. And if I need to nap, I'll nap there in the, you know, baggage claim or whatever. I'll figure something out. So I got there, turned in my car, my rental, because I had to go there anyway because my car was parked there, and went to baggage claim, lost baggage, and walked up, and my bag was sitting right there. However, Victoria's bag was in Newark, New Jersey. So that was a mistake on their part, and they admitted it, which meant they would deliver it. So I said, cool, I got my stuff. I went and got my car, and I went home. And they delivered Victoria's bag to her house at 1:30 that night. So I got home in the afternoon. I was too wired not to sleep or anything. I didn't sleep. Finally went to sleep, got up. I was supposed to go to work. I called in. I said, look, there's no way. This is just not happening. I'm not, going to be miserable. I need to decompress. I need some sleep. So my boss is really cool about stuff like this. So he was like, no problem. Yeah, so finally made it home. That was our trip. There was a lot of bad stuff that happened, but it could have been worse. There was 43 people killed in that storm in some form or another. We were able to deal with the stress we had to deal with and made it home safely. We got to see our families, which was the main gist of what we were trying to do. Now, as you see, based on these timelines here, so I lost. Hang on, I got all this. I got all this worked out. All right, so I lost 3 hours up front, where from the diverted flight. So I lost 3 hours, and then I figure the evening of the 26th, I would not normally have gone to bed before 11:30. So there's another 2 hours. And I would have been up by 8, 9 o'clock the next day. So there's another 3 hours. So I lost 8 hours of time with my family. Now, if you look at it, now I was basically there for 36 hours total. Now, if you calculate in 8 hours of sleeping, I was there that I should have been sleeping. I was basically there and was able to spend time with my family for 24 hours. And of that 24 hours, I lost 8 hours because of the flight conditions. So 1/3 of my time I lost. I can't recover that. That's priceless. That cannot be replaced. That being said, if we look at this from a cost analysis now, here is my costs. What I want to do is start at the top here and talk about the airline costs. Now, if you look, when you have a flight, you have a base cost. Now, my base cost for this flight was $792.12. Then you have other things tacked onto this. You have an excise tax, $59.40. This excise tax is a federal tax placed on any air transportation that is 7.5% of the cost of your flight. So, excise tax. Way to go, federal government. This next one, segment fee. This is a hidden tax, federal tax. For every hop you have, if it's a one-way flight, it's $4. If it's a direct flight, 2 ways, it's $8. My flight went through Nashville to Pensacola. Now, I didn't get charged for the diversion, but Pensacola back, so that's 4 legs, 4 segments, $4 a piece per passenger. So that's $32 in a hidden tax that the government gets. So that's another little bit of cash for you, Uncle Sam. And next you have this passenger facility charge. This can be up to a max of $18, and as you can see, per passenger, it was $18. $36. This is charged by any airports that you go to. So basically, I went through Nashville and they got money. There you go. I don't have a problem with that. I'm sure it's pretty expensive to run an airport. I would suspect they get money from the airlines, though, as some kind of rent or something like that. I don't know. But of course, they got to get a little bit out of us too. You're squeezing blood from a rock, so why not? Blood from a turnip, water from a rock. Yeah, And don't forget the September 11th security fee, totaling now $941.92 for my 2 tickets to Pensacola and back. All right, so that's my initial cost. Now, along with that, I was expecting 2 nights at the Hyatt, $145 a piece, so there's another $290, plus the rental car, which was $100. So I end up with a total expected cost at this point of $1,331.92 for the 2-day trip. Alright, so with the way things worked out though, we didn't stay in the hotel the first night, so we can subtract $145 from that. In addition, for both of us, from the vouchers, so that's $400 we can remove from that. And then from the second flight that was canceled on the from Nashville to Baltimore, they gave us another $100 a piece, so that's another $200 off. Now, when we got to Philadelphia, of course, we did have a rental fee that was not expected, so we add $143 back, so that's sort of a wash with the first night's hotel. But basically, with all the things we got back, we ended up with our total cost being at $729.42, which was actually a savings of 45% of our trip. So that's a good chunk of money back in my pocket. I'm not complaining about that, and I've got vouchers for free trips before San Antonio, maybe. I don't know, guys. Prime that keg. We shall see. But what did the trip really cost me? Well, I lost a lot of sleep, had a lot of stress, missed time with family that can't be replaced. What did I gain from this, though? It was an experience. I have a story to tell. I'm talking to you about it. You're shocked. I can see it. I got to spend some quality time with Victoria. She may not see it that way, but it was time together. And it was also time of duress in which we can find out what each other's made of. She now knows that I am a person who does not get bent out of shape over a stressful situation. And I will have to say, for the most part, she was a trooper too, although she was a little more emotional than me at some points. You know, she held it together really well, and so that's very good for the future because we plan on doing a lot of traveling together. So anyway, but what did I really gain? Well, here's what I gained right here. I got to spend time with my family, and whatever the cost, whatever the duress it took me to get there to see them, this is what really mattered at Christmas, was getting to spend time with them. And we had a great time. And it was great seeing everybody, and you know, I would go through it all again in order to get to spend that time together, because we all don't know how much time we all have together, and is a blessing, and I appreciated it very much. So there you go. There's my story about the not so friendly skies. I know a lot of you saw my Facebook postings as I was going through it. I wasn't very detailed. Now you know all the details. Yeah, hey, I guess at this point it can only get better, maybe? Well, who knows? All right, one more thing I want to note. This is a little bit of housekeeping here. As far as my videos go, I'm finding 3 times a week is too much. So I'm going to go just to a Monday and Friday format. I think that's going to work out better for me, but it's just I just can't expend all the time, because you know, the time talking to the camera is easy. It's the post-production stuff that's taking a lot of time, and I can't afford that. So yeah, Mondays and Fridays, look for them. All right, guys, once again, Happy New Year, and Roll Tide. Beat the hell out of Michigan State, headed to the national championship on Monday. We'll be talking about that next time, I'm sure. All right, guys, take it easy. Good talking to you again. Hope you all had a great holiday season.